Testing, testing. What's up, everybody? In this video, we're diving into matrices on the ACT, one of those topics that sounds scary, but I promise by the end it won't be. As a math teacher who's worked with students for years, I'm going to walk you step by step through the exact process to solve matrices so you can save my time and seriously boost your score. And yep, I'll show you how to do it on a calculator, but even better, I'll show you some quick tricks that are faster than the calculator itself. Here's the deal. The ACT Math section has this category called number and quantity. And out of 30 standards on that section, 5 of them are all about matrices. So odds are you're going to see at least one matrix on test day. And this video could be the reason you nail it and walk out of there with a higher score. Let's look at this problem. Given m equals 2, negative 1, 0, 4, 3, 5. This is a matrix here. What is the dimensions of matrix M? So first thing about matrices is actually determining what the dimensions are. And now all dimensions are written like these answers here, where it's it looks like some number times another number. But in actuality, this is an indicator of the amount of rows on one side of the X here and the columns on the other side. And specifically, it is always the amount of rows, or R, times C on the right side, the columns. Now, the rows you could think of like in a movie theater, you have rows that go across, okay? And then in columns, I think of with houses. You've got a wonderfully drawn house, and you have columns going down in front. And obviously they're way better than what I've drawn, but I want you to understand what is a column, what is a row, and maybe you might get that confused if you think about it too much. But we're looking for how many rows do we have? 2. How many columns do we have? Well, we have 3 columns. And so I know my dimensions are 2, 3. And these are the basics of matrices. In this problem, I'll be showing you how to add matrices. If A equals 2, 1, 3, 4, and B equals 1, 0, negative 2, 5, what is A plus B? So in here, you can figure out, you can do this with a calculator, and you can, but actually it's easier and quicker to do this without. But even if you forget on test day, you can plug this into your calculator and figure it out either way. All you have to do is figure out if your matrices have the exact same dimensions. This is a 2 by 2 matrix and a 2 by 2 matrix. And if they are equal, then you can add them together. And your answer will be in the form of a 2 by 2 matrix, just like all of our answers here are. But all you have to do is take whatever is in the same place on each one of these matrices and add them together. So 2 and 1 add together to get what? 3. 1 and 0 add together to get what? 1. 3 and negative 2 add together to get 1. And 4 and 5 add together to get 9. So it looks like our correct answer is A. But I'm showing you how to do this on a calculator. And so this is really awesome and really easy, especially if you're good at typing on a calculator. But all you have to do is turn it on and go to second, x to the negative 1. You'll see that blue, the matrix there. And so you'll see all these matrix looking things. You'll go over to edit, push enter. You want to change your dimensions to 2 by 2. Even if you forget on the ACT, you can go to edit and you can play around with these dimensions and figure out the answer, the first answer, honestly. But you want to put in all of your data points here to get the exact A matrix, and you can go and you can edit B. Yeah, it's just a placeholder for whatever it is. It's just a coincidence that it's A and B in these questions. But you can plug in all of these numbers. It might take a second. I'm clicking this with a mouse, so it's taking even longer. But you can second quit, go to matrix again, click A plus matrix B, and that is it. That is the exact answer. Now, honestly, it took me, it was not as long when I worked it out myself, but on the calculator, I still get it right. It's just a matter of time. So you can do whatever you want. You will use some calculator on some of these other ones. Let's look at this next problem where we have to compute the product AB, where A is equal to this one matrix C that appears to be not just a 2 by 2. It's got 2 rows, but it has 1, 2, 3 columns. So we would write it as a 2 by 3 matrix. And here we have 1, 2, 3 rows and 1, 2 columns. So what do we do here? We can't just with adding, they had to be equal to one another, 2 and 2. So here with multiplication, there's some different rules. And it's quite strange because whenever you multiply these two numbers here, write an X for multiply, whatever two numbers are on the inside of the multiplication there, if they are equal, then you can multiply. And then the resulting matrix is what's left on the outside. So you're going to be left with a 2 by 2 matrix here. Now, I could show you how to do this by hand, but I use a calculator for this, and I have a math degree. And so I'm going to teach you how to do it with a calculator for the purpose of the ACT. If you're doing this in class, you should know how to do it by hand. But that doesn't change the fact that we can do this by calculator, and I've already went through and edited and put in our matrix here. We can check the other one. Make sure you do it correctly, because when I was actually practicing this problem and putting this in and checking it, I actually put a wrong negative, or I forgot to put a negative on that -2 here in matrix A, and I got it all wrong, and so I was super confused. So you have to be super detailed about these things, and otherwise you're just going to get it all wrong. You're like, what is going on? So if you take matrix A times matrix B, you plug it in, honestly, it's super simple, and you should be, so pumped whenever you see a matrix multiplication problem, because they are easy, especially when you have the power of a calculator with you. Actually, nope, that is wrong. Why is that wrong? Because there's a negative right there. So the answer is E. They're trying to trip you up. So make sure you check yourself before you wreck yourself, kids. If A equals this is a 2 by 2 matrix. What is the determinant of A? Now, determinant is technically, by definition, if you have a matrix of at least a 2 by 2 and you were to label everything as A, B, C, D, you're supposed to take A times D and subtract B's times C. And you can, there's for 3 by 3 matrix, for 4 by 4 matrix, for any kind of matrix where it's the same number in both sides, you can find the determinant. But you can also just plug it into your calculator. If you go to second math, second matrix, you go to edit, make it a 2 by 2, plug in 1, 2, 3, 4. You go to second quit, go to matrix, you go to matrix math, and DET is determinant. And so you can find the determinant of matrix A, and you know that it is -2. And I can plug this in. A times D all the way across here is going to be 4 minus 2 times 3, which is 6, which is -2. But you can just plug it into your calculator, and it's a little bit longer, but that's just one easier thing than memorizing another formula, honestly. This last problem is pretty difficult if you don't know what you're doing. If matrix X is A2B3 and its transpose X to the T is AB23, then what is the sum of all the elements in X to the T when X equals 4 and B equals -1? So, a transpose is where you just basically, you have this diagonal here all the way down, and you just flip it. And you flip it and mirror it on that diagonal. So just like how it's written right here, it's flipped on the diagonal from the original matrix. And so there's actually a function in matrix math, that second one, that to the T right there, it'll do it for you. But all this is asking, it already gives me the transpose of X right here. What is the sum of all the elements in X to the T when A equals 4 and B equals -1? An element is just a piece of data in a matrix. So the sum of all the elements, when A equals 4, when I plug in 4 and -1 into my matrix, it'll look like this. Or at least X to the transpose X here. And if I just find the sum of all the elements, well, 4 plus -1 is 3, plus 2 is going to be 5, plus 3 is going to be 8. And so that is the sum of all of my elements. Now, hopefully, we can look at this next problem. Let's take a look at this next problem. If A equals 3, -2, 1, 4, and K is equal to -2, what is Ka? This is what they call scalar multiplication of a matrix. All that means is you have this number, negative 2, that's multiplying into your matrix. And all you have to do is basically distribute negative 2 into each one of these numbers. So negative 2 times all of these things will give me negative 6, 4, negative 2, negative 8. And that's all you have to do. And that's honestly quicker than a calculator. So my answer should be D. And you can do this on your calculator. You just have to type negative 2, and I've already typed it all in, and multiply it times A, and you'll get the exact same thing. So, thank you for watching. Hopefully you learned something and you get that 1 or 2 point questions, or probably points on the ACT.